to the executive management in absentia, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Zululand, Prof. Ntose, the Dean of our faculty, Prof. Hailing Lauren, Deputy Dean Research, Prof. Kasiram, Deputy Dean Teaching and Learning, Prof. Nana Magigaba, as well as our distinguished guests and esteemed audience. I extend my warm welcome to you all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Sanbonani. I'm Mafuku Tolen Matadi. I'm an associate professor and the head of the law department at the University of Zululand. So I'll be your program director today. You'll notice that in the program there's Mr. Mchengu there, but then I've mentioned that usually the third day is for law. So how come have you forgotten Matadi? So it was just a mistake, but it was a mistake. I was the program director. Okay, over the past 2 days, we have convened an enriching dialogue led by an array of distinguished scholars during the plenary sessions under the overarching topic of an African transformation 5.0, technology, ethics, and sustainability of humanistic development. We explored a thought-provoking dimension of African developmental trajectory. Professor Tripathi pinpoints that infrastructure, healthcare, and education only attain meaning and impact when people are integral to their conception and implementation. He emphasized on the technological advancements as a vehicle for inclusivity and sustainability, framed by 3 Ps: people, prosperity, and planet. That recalibrated our understanding of transformation. He concluded by asserting that, I quote, "I exist because you are, and that is why we all are." Our second keynote speaker was Dr. Sikakane. We engaged in the topic or theme of demystification and the westernization of knowledge and law. The discussion prompted critical reflection. Thank you, Prof. Calvino. Excuse me, I have to talk. The discussion prompted critical reflection on the nature of our African identity, the imperatives of epistemic reorientation of knowledge. Dr. Skakane argued that people are understood by both their actions and their tolerances. So, in other words, he mentioned that people are known by what they do and also what they tolerate. He provocatively noted that the concept of human rights remains unsettled, or we can talk about human rights, and we can't talk about human rights until we arrive at a consensus that who is human. So this philosophical inquiry offered a poignant juxtaposition to René Descartes, who mentioned that cogito ergo sum, I think, therefore I am, contrasted with John Beatty, an African philosopher, who mentioned that I am because we are, and since we are, therefore I am. Thus, the African conception of human rights grounded in communality and interdependence, challenges the dominant individualistic narrative of Western paradigms. So today, we are deeply honored to welcome Professor Preeti Saxena, the Vice Chancellor of Himachal Pradesh National Law University in India. We extend our heartfelt gratitude to you, Prof. Our final theme today is promoting legal consciousness and safeguarding human rights in the age of artificial intelligence, challenges and opportunities. So that's the intersection of legal awareness and technological innovation that invites a critical interrogation and collective reflection. I hope that we are all eager to engage in a meaningful discourse. To start with, I will invite Professor Aya to formally introduce the keynote speaker.
Thank you, Program Director, Professor Matadi. Good morning, everyone. I think we're all excited that we've arrived at day 3, but I can't see many smiles. Maybe everyone's tired. But I know you're excited because it's going to be a law session this morning. Today I have the privilege of introducing a remarkable woman whose work has transformed minds, uplifted communities, and redefined what it means to lead with intellect and compassion. Prof. Saxena is the Vice Chancellor of the Himachal Pradesh National Law University in India. She is a trailblazing, internationally recognized academic, author, researcher, educator, and administrator. I think we're very lucky to have a Vice Chancellor joining us, knowing how busy their schedule generally is. Now, all of you would have seen her bio in the program, so I'm not going to read the entire bio out, but I will highlight a few aspects. Before joining as VC of the Himachal Pradesh University, she served as Director of the Center of Postgraduate Legal Studies. She is the former Head of Department of Human Rights and Dean of the School for Legal Studies at the BBAC University in Lucknow. She received numerous awards and accolades, including a gold medal in the LLM, in addition to a number of scholarships. In 2002, she was awarded the Prashasti Patra from Nehru Yuva Kendra under the Ministry of the Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. She is the only law professor selected for the academic leadership program in higher education. She also successfully completed the nurturing of the future leadership program at the IIM, Rohtak. She gives back to the community as she also serves as a legal expert on panels under the Juvenile Justice Act 2015. She served as a member of the LOCF committee designing courses in postgrad human rights across India. She has contributed to policy papers on the rights of disabled persons and is a life member of the India Law Institute. She holds advisory positions as a subject expert in government bodies, state commissions, universities, etc. She is a role model whose work is not only rooted in academic excellence, but in authenticity. She speaks truth to power and brings passion and knowledge into the heart of leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Prof. Saxena.
morning, everyone. Am I audible?
You are audible, Prof.
Okay. So, greetings from India, and I'm very, very thankful to Professor Iyer, in particular, Professor Madhuri, the director of the program, and the entire organizing team from University of Jurgam in Jammu. I'm thankful for giving me this platform to share my views on a topic that is both timely as well as urgent. It is my honor to speak on the promoting legal consciousness and safeguarding human rights in the age of artificial intelligence. Now, here, as already told, it's an intersection of legal consciousness between human rights and the artificial intelligence. Therefore, my aim today is just to dissect these complexities and offer the insights into how we can proactively support legal consciousness at the same time when we have to promote the human rights, because we know the technology reshapes the legal landscape. We are at a turning point in the legal history, we all know, because artificial intelligence, it is not just being used as a tool, it is becoming a force that is reshaping our social order, that is reshaping the legal systems, and also the ethical boundaries where we are living. This is the work which the AI is doing here. And this 21st century, as we know, we are all not only witnessing this technological transformation, but we need a fundamental rethinking also. A rethinking of how the justice, rights, and responsibilities, they are not only to be conceived, but also to be enforced in this new era. Now, I'm just giving an example, and you just imagine for a moment that uh, if we have filed a lawsuit in the law court, or if we have applied for an application for a loan, or there are similar type of the things which we are doing. For example, even if it is a case of the medical diagnosis, and that was to be decided earlier by a human being, by a person. But now, with this artificial intelligence interference, it is all being done by an algorithm. Imagine when you ask that what is the reasoning behind a life altering decision? What is the reasoning that you have not been given the bail? What's the reasoning behind that medical diagnosis? What's the reasoning that you have not been given the loan? Then the only answer which you are going to receive is the system decided, the system generated, the auto generated. This is the life which now we are having in the system. Now, suppose if a person is denied parole by an artificial intelligence, how can they challenge the decision? How can their lawyer cross examine an algorithm? Because the decision has come, it is an auto generated decision. There is nothing to cross examine. So, the basic or the core legal principle of audi alteram partem, that is to say, here the other side also, it is just rendered meaningless if the other side is an unexplainable. This is a direct challenge to our conception of justice, which is, of course, required in a legal profession, in a system where we say that we are living in the rule of law. So many advanced artificial intelligence systems, particularly if you see the deep learning models, they are also so complex that even the creators of those models, they cannot fully explain how they reach to a specific conclusion, because whatever system, whatever data is fed, that is bringing out with the decision or the conclusion. How it is doing the things, how it is modeling, remodeling, reframing, this is not known even to the creator. This is the fallacy now. And this all is because of the engineered intelligence. I would say it is in the engineered intelligence, because these are being done by the smart machines, and they are working as artificial intelligence, which have silenced the minds of the human being. And because the human mind is being silenced by this engineered intelligence, the output, the outcome of those works, those are not meeting the ends of justice. This is not a science fiction, this is a reality. This is our reality, which is unfolding right now. Because artificial intelligence, as we know, it has interfered in every walk of our life. This is no longer a futuristic concept. It's a silent, it's a powerful force which is shaping, rather, I should say, to some extent, reshaping our world. Because every aspect is having a positive as well as a negative impact. So I'll just try to make a balance and to give you the pointers whether it is shaping or reshaping, or not shaping, unshaping our world. Because we all know that we are having the mobile phones in our hands, our palms are busy with those mobile phones. In our homes also we see, our workplaces we see, and this is increasingly in every system. Every architecture of our judicial system is bound to have all these outcomes of the artificial intelligence. So it is not just a tool, it is becoming a force that, of course, shaping our social order, our legal system, and our boundaries also. The advent, we all know, of the artificial intelligence that has revolutionized uh, numerous sectors, and the legal profession is also not left. While artificial intelligence that offers some transformative potential for the efficiency, or we can say access and innovation, it is also raising some important questions about the legal consciousness. Legal consciousness through which we can safeguard our human rights. And human rights, we all know that they are the universal rights. They have been declared as per the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948. And basically, respecting human rights is required of both the government and the governed alike. So we see that although the governments have additional obligations to protect and to fulfill the human rights, there is entire legal system also which speaks of the human rights, whether it's a regional system, it's an international system, and of course the domestic institutions and organizations, they are also providing a very systematic, or I should say a well developed framework for remedy and to articulate the application of human rights law in the changing circumstances. Of course, the technological developments are always there. As I can talk about India, that we are having the DPDP Act, Digital Person Data Protection Act, we have the Information Technology Act, so as to protect and to respect the human rights. But if we look at the legal professionals, they are now at the forefront of navigating the new landscapes, which is driven by the technology. So, how to balance the technological advances, of course, with the ethical, as well as the legal imperatives? That is a great question to mark upon. And as I said, that the legal profession is no exception. If you see the recent report that is of 2024, published in 25 January, that is on the future of the professionals report from the Thomson Reuters Institute, it is basically a survey of 2,200 professionals and C-level corporate executives. And they have covered the universe of around 50 countries in the world. And the report shows that the legal and other professionals are increasingly positive about the artificial intelligence, and they have a greater feeling about the excitement and the hope. And 62% of the respondents, they said that artificial intelligence should be used for the what, because this report is something which is being, I should say, is the future, which is to be adopted or which we are bound to adopt. Because 89% of the when respondents, they said about that they are thinking of the specific use of the cases. At the same time, the report also suggests that as the artificial intelligence tools become more integrated into the professional workflows, they will reduce the cost and free up the professionals for the higher value activities. And here comes the question of the human rights. Now, if the artificial intelligence use is going to reduce the professionals from the field, then right to work and right to job as a human right, where we are going to and how we are going to safeguard that particular right. Indeed, we see that 95% of the respondents in this survey, they are of the opinion, rather they believe that artificial intelligence will be central to their organization's workflow within next 5 years. That is up to 2030. We are going to have to see that more and more AI tools are going to replace the professionals in this field particularly. And you see, half of the law firms respondents decide that exploring and implementing artificial intelligence as their highest priority, because it is also giving them relief to a certain extent. And in addition, they are also believing that AI could help address other priorities such as increased customer satisfaction, operational efficiency, reduction of the time in which they are preparing the things. And you see, this report, 96% of the legal professionals believe that if we allow artificial intelligence to represent the clients in the court, that would be a step too far from today. While 83% they consider that using artificial intelligence to provide legal advice would also constitute an inappropriate use of the technology. So there were different questions on which the responses have been made by 2,200 respondents. And when the finally this report came, so they were of the opinion that in the next 5 years there would be the entirely different situation regarding the use of artificial intelligence. But when it comes to the legal profession, then they are of the opinion that this is a step which is too far. And if it is a case of providing legal advice, again, it would be inappropriate to use the case of the technology. So there also appears to be a general consensus that lawyers should rigorously oversee the output of their artificial intelligence tools to ensure the compliance with the professional ethical standards. Now, considering this report, the material which has been available online, my topic on which I am going to explore today, that is the challenges and opportunities the legal profession is facing in promoting this legal consciousness, and the challenges and opportunities the AI presents to the legal practitioners as the custodian of law and the guardian of human rights as well. So, the very first question that may come to the mind is, what is legal consciousness, by the way? And how do we understand and how we define the legal consciousness in this digital era. So, to me, the legal consciousness refers to the awareness, it refers to the understanding, it refers to the attitudes that the individuals and the communities hold about the law, it hold about the rights and the entire legal system. This is how we can define or we can understand the legal consciousness, because it is shaping how the people they perceive the justice, how the legality and their own agency within the society in which they live, it is being shaped. That is the legal consciousness they need to know, because in this digital era, this legal consciousness again extends beyond the traditional framework, that is the justice, legality, and the agency of the legal system in the society. It is further being extended, and now it is encompassing the issues that relates to technology, the issues that relates to data, as well as the algorithmic governance also. So there is a great impact of digitalization. Digitalization has transformed how the laws are made, how the laws are interpreted, at the same time how the laws are enforced. It's its entire functioning. This is under the impact of digitalization and the explosion of these digital platforms, automated decision making, online interactions. They have all created the new legal realities. And particularly in India, if I say that after the COVID period, or like during that COVID period, this digitalization, automation, and the existence of the e-courts in India, the online dispute resolution, all these have been, I mean, enhanced to such an extent that now we are in maximum cases of these type are through this digitalization or automated courts or e-courts. Decision making is automatic. So these changes which have been brought in, though it were functioning from last so many years, but after COVID period, it has been enhanced. And these changes, they demand an improved legal consciousness, a consciousness among both the legal professionals as well as the broader public, that is the persons who are coming to the court of law, the persons who are engaged in the legal profession, whether they are the advocates, they are the judges, they are the parties clients. So they are all coming before the decision making authorities, where they are all coming before this, and all these are having the legal impact. So we find that this is just to ensure that the rights and obligations, it is being understood and protected in the digital domain. This is very important, which is required as a consciousness of the legal professionals, because they are to serve them, they are to advise them, they are to help them in that legal field, in that legal, system. So this is also their duty to protect in the digital domain. And as we know that our legal frameworks are built on the concept of legal or the human agency, with the intent and foreseeability. And the fact is that the artificial intelligence that disrupts all of them. There is nothing like foreseeability. No human agency is there. There is no intention. Whatever is coming, that is through the modeling of that particular data. A model is being run by virtue of the large language, material that has been produced, and that data which has been given. Out of that data, the results are coming. So there is no intention, there is no foreseeability, there is no human agency, which is one of the basic pillar of our legal framework. So that has been rebuilt. And the fact is that the AI, as I told, it is disrupting, it is damaging all of them. Then who is liable? Take a case where it is being, it is, this instance is being given in almost everywhere. When there is a case or when there is a lecture of the law and technology or artificial intelligence regarding that, if a self-driving car causes a fatal accident. Who is responsible? Decisions have also come. But the owner who was sitting in the car, in the driver's seat, the manufacturer who has built the car, the software company that has coded that particular artificial intelligence system, or the data provider that supplied the mapping information. So our traditional models of torts and the criminal liability, they are struggling to pinpoint the responsibility in this type of the distributed automated system, because if it would be a case of the accident from a human being, if that car was being driven by a human being, then of course it would be a case of deciding the negligence or the criminal liability of that driver, and it would not be divided and distributed between the person who is sitting on the car, who has built the car, who has coded the car, or who has supplied the map information. So this is how we see that the entire system regarding the use of human agency is now turning towards the artificial agency, which is impacting the human right. Further, if we talk about the nature of the decision, what does it mean? For a machine to decide, a judicial decision is meant to be an act of the reasoned decision. In India, we find that the principles of natural justice says that there are three principles: the rule against bias, the odi altrum partem, and reasoned decision. Now, where is the reason? So again, we see that the nature of decision which we are talking about, it is being given by the machine to decide, and it is missing the reason decision which are to be based on the legal principles, or if it's a case of the policy decision, then it is missing the purpose on the basis of which, or the societal context on the basis of which that policy decision has been taken. However, in AI decisions, it is statistical calculation, determination of the probability based on the data, as I just discussed. And the legal professionals, they are trained to think in terms of law, principles, precedents, and policy. They are not trained so far in terms of the statistics. But now these professionals are being asked to grapple the system and that think in code, that may think in the probabilities. This requires a fundamental expansion. The expansion of the mindset of the professionals, legal professionals. So the legal professionals, they must come to some extent literate in the language of technology, so that they can effectively advocate their clients and can uphold the rule of law. So, in that legal consciousness, the next question is, how do we see this age of AI? Whether we see this that this is transforming something as a transformation, or it is giving some tensions to us. So first, what is the transformative impact on the artificial intelligence on law? And we know that the AI technologies basically uh, they are all automated routine legal tasks, whether it's a document review, whether it's a legal research, whether it is a contract analysis, or any matter relating to this. This is all being done by using the different tools, and of course, it is increasing the efficiency, as the report of Thomson Reuters says that it is increasing the efficiency, and also it is reducing the cost. So it is to some extent transformative in that sense, because these tools allow the lawyers to focus on more complex and strategic and human centric aspects of legal practice, and it is also enabling them to form the legal service delivery in a very in a way so that there should be no delay in providing these services, etc. The AI is enabling the new forms of the service delivery system also. It is also expanding the access to justice. Those persons, the vulnerable groups, the marginalized groups, or the persons who were not aware about, they may not have access to justice. They may not have this transparent judicial system everyone, regardless of their economic status, regardless of their social status, they can have the entry, they can have the access to the legal system to resolve their disputes and to have the remedies, to get the redressal. And by virtue of all these access, by resolving the disputes and redressal, their human rights are to be upheld. So this is the very important aspect which is being now observed by the use of the artificial intelligence, particularly if we see the Indian legal sector, that has seen a radical transformation because it has adopted the technological advancements to guarantee the individuals the access to justice. And it is going forward, as I told you, that we have started the system of the e-court. So everything is now being done through this e-courts. Many apps have been made by the government of India, so that the individual persons, the clients, the persons who have filed their cases before the court, they are being made aware, they are being informed about the status of their case, as to what is happening, what is the next date, what was happened to the earlier date. So everything that is being done through the use of the technology. So this is one aspect which I have seen, that the technology is transforming in this legal system or in the profession, because the advocates also, they are also getting all these informations. The advocate, the apps are there, on the basis of which the advocates, they can get registered by that app, and any individual can have the advice from that in advocate. This is also one of the transformation. However, there are certain emerging tensions also by the use of the technology in the legal arena. And if we see that the tensions, then we find that uh, they have made a significant impact on right to access in various ways. On the one hand, with improved access to legal information, online legal services, remote legal consultation, document automation. So all these are there, and one can get the benefits of the technology in this legal sector. But on the other hand, the great aspect which is bringing the tension or emerging tension by the use is the digital divide. We all know, because we are having a very large population, and there of course is some line, poverty line, below poverty line, above poverty line. So digital divide is there. It's not only by virtue of the economic background, but also because of the illiteracy, computer or the this internet illiteracy, digital illiteracy is also the cause for this digital divide. Then data privacy as well as security issues, they are also creating certain tensions. The algorithmic bias, the legal tech cost, they are all the challenges which we see as a concern by the use of the technology. And if I say the digital divide, data privacy, security issues, and biases, so all these are to some extent, touching one or the other human rights, whether it's a right to equality, it's a right to privacy, it's a right to job, it's right against discrimination. So all these are the human rights. And by use of technology, we are having or we are witnessing these type of the rights which need to be, safeguarded. Therefore, we see that all these benefits are there. It also introduces certain challenges, and we find that there are algorithmic has been trained. And we always see that the data which has been trained, that is biased on the basis of the information supply. If it is a case of Alan, if it is a case of Anil, if it is a case of Ali, there are different outcomes of that particular inquiry. So that may lead to discriminatory outcomes in the areas, and the areas may also be relating to the criminal justice system. It may relate to the employment. It may relate to the access to the services. So, if it is a matter of criminal justice and the decision is based on this trained data, which is, of course, amplifying biases, uh, then of course, there would be a violation of this right to justice, which is a human right. Then another challenge which is being found is that the privacy and surveillance, because AI driven surveillance tools can infringe on individual privacy. They are infringing the civil liberties as well, and they may raise concerns about the mass monitoring and data misuse. So this is one aspect which is being, faced as a concern, as a tension, but at the same time, we find if we see that these type of the surveillances are there, and we have to sort out some cases of the criminal in the criminal justice system. So many times this may also going to be fruitful. So we have to make a balance, as I'm just saying that we have to have the balance, and we have to make we have to use the system in a transparent manner, so that whatever complexities this AI is providing in making this algorithm, or it is making the difficult to understand, to contest, and to appeal the decisions. But if we find that the transparency and due process is being followed, then the challenge can be reduced to a certain extent. Then another point which I would like to raise here is the how we safeguard the human rights in this age of artificial intelligence. So I'll be just discussing a few human rights which are mentioned in the International Bill of Human Rights. Of course, we all know that this includes the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, as well as the International Covenant on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights (ICSDR). So AI can both advance and threaten human rights. Today, we know big data is changing the way we uncover human rights violation. It's giving the powerful new insights into the issues like police brutality, forced labor, even genocide. So by pulling all these together, this huge amounts both structured and unstructured information. So AI tools can spot the patterns of abuse that would otherwise go unnoticed. For example, if we say that the satellite images are now being used to document war crimes and confirm the reports of atrocities in conflict zones, mobile phone data can help us track. What is to be tracked? That is the movement of the displaced people and refugees. That is to provide the crucial evidence in humanitarian crisis. So we find that if regulated, we can also use these things, and we find that the rising tensions which are there, if we are going through the system, then of course these technologies give us a stronger hand in holding the preparators accountable also. And we find that in the human rights arena, all these pointers may be used properly, because they are to some extent, protecting and respecting the human rights. They are also, we can say, bringing certain changes, but only then if misused. So big data, if misused, can become a tool for the state-led operations rather than protection. But if it is used properly, then it can always protect the rights of the persons there are important human rights which are at risk. But if we use the data properly, then of course there is no tension, which I should say, by use of this automated or artificial intelligence, whether it's a right to privacy, which everybody says that AI-driven surveillance and data collection, they threaten the right to privacy as mentioned in UDHR Article 12 or ICCPR Article 17 of that. So this is not going to be, violated if it is properly used, if the big data is not misused, because we have to balance the human rights and the public interest. So in that aspect, though this is at risk, right to privacy is at risk. Again, if we talk about the freedom of expression as given under Article 19 of the UDHR and ICCPR in International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, again Article 19, that is automated content moderation and the censorship tools, deepfake, so many things are coming up. So this is again another issue of concern where we have to think that how to regulate this thing, so that one can enjoy the freedom of expression, then equality, due process, and all that points are there which are important to be discussed. So what is required is that we need to have some international organizations to come forward, because this automated system, this auto-generated system, this artificial intelligence, we all know, does not know any boundaries, any geographical boundaries. So we have to see that what international organizations can come forward to see as to what shall be the transparency and accountability pointers by regulating this biased audits or human oversights through this AI system. We need to have the data protection laws also that need to be strengthened, such as the EU General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR). We have how this is to control the things, then to which is aimed to safeguard this privacy and empower the individual. In India, as I told, we have the Digital Person Data Protection Act. There are certain ethical guidelines also which provides for the regulating the system. Bodies like UNESCO, OECD, they advocate for the ethical AI principle centered on human rights, which is relating to transparency and accountability. So new laws and policy are being crafted to ensure that the individuals have the avenues for redress when harmed by AI-driven decisions. Now the question is how to promote this, or what is the way forward through which we can say that the role of the legal professionals can come forward to promote this legal consciousness. So I would say that, or my response to this would be like, by educating and empowering the stakeholders, we can promote the legal consciousness, or by the public legal education, or by professional training, we can do so by interdisciplinary collaboration, because it's an intersection of law and technology. So working with the technologists or ethicists and policy makers, just to bring this bridge the gap between the law, technology, and society. So interdisciplinary collaboration is very important, and we can also promote the inclusive law making, and can have the innovative legal practices which can enhance the efficiency also. And we see that legal profession is also facing this time's few challenges because of the rapid pace of the technological changes and what we are having as a law. There is some uncertainty for the legal professionals, because keeping pace with the technology is very important, and continuous learning is essential to stay well informed of developments, what is happening in the digital law, or what is happening disconnect to certain extent, or this tap and digital legal divide. As I told, this is a digital divide. So there is, because of the non-awareness, because of the untrained professionals, this is again creating a tap and digital legal divide. need to, redo the things, need to come up with many of the trainings so that they can overcome these type of the things, and they can also see this use of the AI as the opportunity for their profession. And we all know that if the AI is there, then many of the new things have given them the opportunity also. AI and the digital governance, by engaging proactively with emerging technologies, the lawyers, they can influence the policy and regulations. They can lead the ethical innovations. Many of the things can be done. They can develop the pro bono initiatives online. They can promote the digital literacy also. Those who are trained, they can also train the other groups. They can also include many of these designs, AI designs in their system. So, evolving this landscape, this offers the new avenues for the professional growth in the legal field. It is giving us the new specializations. Like earlier, we were talking about the constitutional law, the family law, the international law. Now it's the time for AI law, cybersecurity, digital rights, data protection laws, or information technology laws. So these type of the new specializations are coming up. So this opportunity can be well taken by the legal professionals. They can also do the interdisciplinary practices like technology, ethics, and social sciences on the cross-cutting issues which were missing earlier. And this could be done by a continuous learning. And this is very important that the legal professionals now, they have to come forward to learn as to how they can meet the present requirement, and how can they reform their professional responsibilities. And at the same time, the law schools like ours, we are also, reforming our curriculums. Law and technology was used for the last 10 years. Now we are also encouraging to have the interdisciplinary programs, which is combining law, ethics, and computer science in one go, so that the law schools or the future lawyers who are coming out of these law schools, they may be both digitally literate and ethically grounded. So not only it is for the law schools, but others may also need to build the public legal education programs. And all these, trainings, if there would be, then of course we find that the age of AI, which presents unprecedented challenges, transformative opportunities to the legal profession. It is not our fate, it is a tool only. So, by promoting the legal consciousness, by safeguarding the human rights, the legal profession can also ensure that this technological progress serves the cause of justice, the cause of equity, the cause of dignity. This only requires a commitment to continuous learning of the ethical practices as well as emerging technologies. Of not material. So we cannot avoid, as I told, but we have to regulate these things internationally as well as nationally. to be aware about that thing. And with these words, I stop here. And once again, I just I'm thankful to the organizers for giving me this opportunity so that I can share my this points on this very important topic of the extension of technology and law. Thank you very much. I request to answer.
Thank you so much, Prof. Saxena. That was an insightful presentation where we have few of points that we can highlight to your presentation. AI comes with both opportunities and challenges, as you mentioned, and technology is reshaping the legal landscape. So you pinpoint more of issues about the legal profession, providing an example of us imagining a person being denied parole because of the use of artificial intelligence, and also how can we cross-examine an individual by using AI. So you called AI, you consider it as an engineer intelligence that is silencing our human intelligence, and we need to be aware of such, specifically when adjudicating, making more legal decision, because AI is not only a tool, but it's becoming a force that is shaping the judicial system. And it's also raising an issue about criminal liability. We need to be aware on how we have to balance the advance of technology, ethical aspects, and legal imperative. So in closing, you also mentioned that we must allow technology. However, we cannot allow it to negatively impact our human rights. What is legal must be just, and what is just must be human. Thank you so much, Prof. We truly appreciate your discussion. Let us give her another round of applause. Any comments, concern? Yes, Prof?
This is just a comment. Whilst the professor was speaking, I was thinking about a movie that I saw. Thank you very much. As I say, whilst the professor was speaking about the legal consciousness and rights, etc., I was thinking about a movie that came out in 1982, and it is called Blade Runner. Now, Blade Runner was called a cyberpunk movie, and no means it's morally ambiguous and disturbing. But this movie was about a constructed being, and should it count as a person? Because you construct this, in that particular movie, it was these beings, they look similar to us, and they were basically there to be slaves. But because it's an artificial intelligence, they are learning and adjusting. And if, for instance, this being was a nanny, the being got attached to the children and was emotionally changing and adjusting, etc. And that being only had a lifespan of 4 years. Then it was destroyed to prevent this being to become a person. Now, currently, there's a follow-up of this particular book. Now, I'm saying this was in 1982. That was before we had laptops and personal computers, where they came up with this whole concept of constructed being. What is the AI that we have currently different? It's just not that we see a robot, but we go in there and there's a constructed being that is giving us advice and summaries and recommendations. It's the same, it's basically the same thing, and I really absolutely love the example of the self-driven cars, because that's a constructed being in charge. And is that a person, and should it now have legal consequences, etc., against this? So we need to use technology, but we need to think. I'm speaking about 1982 and 2025, that is 40 years later. It was 40 years ago when people already started to speak and think about this. Colleagues, we all use that. You use a little app, and you give it a certain amount of money, and you ask it to deal for you. Whilst you're carrying on with your work, this thing is dealing in the back. It's taking away the financial dealer aspect. And if this thing is now losing your money, can you legally charge it because it acted as a person and a dealer? There's so many things that we should think about. And therefore, my plea is to the legal department and lawyers in here to go back and think. We all think about technology as how can we include it to make life easier for ourselves, etc. But we don't think about these consequences. That I'm an economist. I can't stop this. I don't know how to do it even. But from law side, I think this is your responsibility to go back and think. And as the professor said, we cannot avoid this, but how can we legalize it or put it in manageable compartments? I'm not speaking about a machine going to the moon and live there. That was what 1982 was about. But actually, the intelligence is more intelligent than sending someone as a slave to a far-off planet. This intelligence is now part of our lives without us even understanding it. I also recently heard where someone said, we must all work actively to get an AI persona. I said, what the heck is that? They said, well, every time that you go onto the internet and ask some questions, they are building up a persona. It is building up an AI footprint of yourself. And that is why all of these Internet of Things pop up. One moment, I'm 67 years old, and I was looking up the price of nappies to buy my grandchild, and the next moment they were sending me all of these things about pregnancy, etc. And I thought, well, this AI is quite stupid because it's not me going to the hospital for birth bags and things. But that is building up one thing that I've done, and it built up a persona. So be very careful of your persona that you build up. Be very careful about this being that is not a person.